wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me for the next hour to talk about just how incredible of a player Mason Marchment is, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty well. Right line, wrong player for my hat trick pick, apparently. You almost got the hat trick again, back-to-back nights.
Yeah, that's 3-point bonus. We'll take that. 2 goals.
Yeah, so, I mean, pretty good. I mean, Dallas One did absolutely nothing, which is an outlier for them, but we move on. Today's a new day.
Yeah, today is a brand new day. Welcome to the Awesemo NHL Strategy Show presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Yahoo has been our sponsor this entire season. They've been very good to us. So if you're new here, you might not be a Yahoo user. Maybe you're just sticking over on NBA or PGA or whatever it is. If you haven't played on Yahoo, we have a giveaway, some free money for first-time Yahoo users. So stick around. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Before we go too much further, if you guys could, please throw us that thumbs up. Those likes really help us out. The subscriptions help us out even more. Those subscriptions help grow this channel, and it will ensure that these shows, whether it's NHL or MMA or PGA or NASCAR that we have coming up tomorrow, it'll keep those shows coming on a regular basis. So please click that subscribe button and click the bell to get alerts when we do go live. NBA is on their all-star break right now, so there's aren't as many shows going on, especially with NFL done. But we still have NHL, we still have MMA, we still have NASCAR. So click the bell to get alerts whenever we do go on the air. All right, Josh, let's talk a little bit about last night. It was a pretty crazy slate considering we saw a 0-0 shootout, like not a shootout of a bunch of goals, like literally a game that went 0-0 to a shootout. That doesn't happen very often. You'll see that once or twice in a season. Panthers absolutely went ham against Minnesota. Mason Marchment especially. That's why I kind of mentioned him at the top of the show. Carolina, they had a big lead against Nashville. Nashville scored a couple late goals with the empty net, but Carolina took that. How'd you do last night? What'd you take out of that?
And my lineup was pretty good outside of Dallas One. I had all Flames. Every single player had a nice little fire emoji. And then Dallas One, bunch of snowflakes. It is what it is, like single lineup. You can't expect them to go nuts every night. This was an outlier considering that the Hawks are back-to-back. Marc-Andre Fleury had a very good game. But, it is what it is. Had Lundell in there, had LA too. Had like close to 100 points despite Dallas One. All I know is that if Florida can roll 3 lines like that, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. That's
like the general hockey takeaway that I had from this. My general theory on cup contenders is as follows. Most top teams have a great top 6. Colorado, great top 6. Tampa Bay, great top 6. Vegas, great top 6, et cetera, et cetera. The difference comes on the third line. And I think that's where Tampa Bay, their last 2 cup runs with Goodrow and Yanni Gord and Blake Coleman down on that third line, just an elite third line. I think that's one of the things that made a difference for them. I think that's something that could make a big difference for Florida heading into the postseason. There aren't many teams across the league that have a third line that can score 3 goals per 60 minutes and 5-on-5. They're certainly one of them. They've just looked great. Mason Marchment and Lundell together have been very, very good. They're going to have to be one of those third lines that we're going to be keeping an eye on basically every slate that they play from now on, because they have been very good. Maybe running a bit hot, but I think it kind of speaks to how well they're playing as well. So yeah, Florida 3 absolutely nuked. Kind of what I took out of that game, of those games last night, that Stars Blackhawks game, and we're seeing it in the chat a lot. You talk about it with the Rangers. When the Stars aren't playing very good hockey, man alive, is it tough to watch. And
brutal.
I watched I don't know, here and there in that game last night. I was flipping back and forth between the games, but I was not paying attention to that one because whenever I was, it felt like I was going to go to sleep. That's just kind of the team that they have, right? When things look bad, man, they look really bad. Like it's just not fun hockey to watch. Kind of interesting. Max Pacioretty had 2 goals last night. I think it was his first game after changing his tape. I think I dropped that in our Discord. He's a very superstitious player. He changed the tape on his stick. I don't think it's the tape that made a difference, but it seems him and Eichel are finally starting to find their groove.
Yeah. Maybe Chandler Stevenson sticks there. Maybe someone else gets a run. I don't know. Like, it's kind of unfortunate that, Stone doesn't get time with them in the regular season. They're just going to have to mesh in the playoffs. But, Eichel and Pacioretty building that chemistry, it'll only help when Stone comes back, because Stone's going to be a massive upgrade from whoever is playing with them. So it is what it is.
I'm just excited for that line to finally get assembled whenever the playoffs do roll around. We did have some winners last night. I know some people had a pretty tough night, but we saw Wolf Girl took down some winner take alls, went 8x last night. Congrats to you. An ace hole sent us in a top three, good for $400, I think, on a single entry last night. So congrats to Wolf Girl and ace hole. Hopefully we can get some more winners going here tonight. We have free premium tools and data up on the site today. Today we have our NHL player rankings and our MMA fighter rankings. So whether you're playing NHL this afternoon or tonight, or MMA tonight, we have some stuff for you up on the site. So check out awesemo.com for some free premium tools and data. We also have a podcast, a little giveaway through our podcast. Head on over to our Awesemo podcast channel. Give us a 5-star review with your Twitter handle or your Awesemo username, and you will be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, Josh, we have some games to talk about. Let's talk about this early slate. We're not going to take too long to talk about these two games. We have Colorado with a 4 total going into Buffalo. Buffalo is a 2 total. That is wild. Edmonton with a 3.3 total going into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 3.1. Let's start real quick. Colorado going into Buffalo. What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, Colorado 1, super expensive. Actually, not really. Like, Landeskog, 5,600 on DraftKings. I don't remember the last time he was under 6K. McKinnon only 8. Like, not very expensive, and probably, in a really good spot, because Buffalo sends out either, Cousins. Yeah, they're probably going to send out Cousins against McKinnon, which is a really good matchup for them. So Colorado 1 definitely in on. You want to go to Colorado 2. They're going to see, Buffalo 1 probably. So, I do like Colorado 2, but the price difference really isn't that extreme. So if you can fit in Colorado 1, definitely consider them. And I do kind of like Buffalo 1. Like, we talked about Colorado 2 being much better with Nishushkin there, but they're still, like, I don't know. If you look at their shots given up against and their expected goals against, it's not anything, elite. So getting a fully correlated Buffalo 1 on a 2-gamer, I mean, you're not going to X anything out on a 2-gamer, especially not a fully correlated line, avoiding McKinnon. So I'm fine with Buffalo 1, but Colorado 1's my favorite play from that game for sure.
Yeah, I did mention Buffalo 1 because Colorado 2, I think their numbers are a little bit misleading, because their shot generation doesn't live up to their shot quality. So I don't know if they're quite as, like, they're obviously a very good line, but Buffalo 1, Buffalo 1's still generating 3.3 expected goals per 60 minutes over their last 100 minutes. Like, they're playing well, at least offensively. So yeah, I agree with you there. I also think that Buffalo 3, like, if you want to get real different, Asplund, Okposo, like, they're not playing third, fourth line minutes. Like, they're playing like 15, 16 minutes sometimes. So, and they're going to be going into that Colorado 3 line a bit, not a lot, a bit. And that Colorado 3 line is very good. I think that Buffalo, like, just one off an Okposo or something like that, can get by on this slate. Let's get to this next game. Edmonton going into Winnipeg. Edmonton has that 3.3 implied goal total. Winnipeg sitting at a 3.1 implied goal total. There might be some changes coming up to Winnipeg because Cole Perfetti got hurt in their last game. They claimed Adam Brooks off waivers. I don't think Brooks is going to play today, but just a heads up, looks like Evgeny Svechnikov back on the second line for the Jets. What do you see here?
Yeah, and Jesse Puljujarvi's out for a month, so I think Kyler Yamamoto is going to go up into his spot, which sucks, but is what it is. Here we are with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. I don't have my flow chart handy, but they're probably going to get bottom 6 matchups of the Oilers, which is good for them. You want to play them, sure, go for it. I'm fine with it. Blake Wheeler 4,600 is manageable. Scheifele 5,700. Evgeny Svechnikov on that second line, they have sampled together, and it's fine. They are going to get the McDavid matchup, but it's not as bad as it was with, Puljujarvi there. With Puljujarvi there, with Hyman and McDavid, they were, generating, 4.5 expected goals per 60, which is ridiculous. But Yamamoto is going to hurt them offensively and defensively on that line. So I think going to Winnipeg 2, definitely is in play as well. If you want to go to Oilers second line, I think that's fine. You don't have to leave Ryan McLeod on. Wow, man, my voice just not about it this week. Draisaitl, Kane, perfectly fine. You want a power play stack? I think that's fine. The Jets penalty kill has been pretty good, but with these even strength lines, I think you just put in the big boys and you mix around them.
One thing I found really interesting about Winnipeg too, it's that they're having that problem with Sonny Milano in Anaheim. When Winnipeg 2 is without Cole Perfidi, their shot share is 41% and their scoring chance share is 42%. That is a drastic drop. So Evgeny Svechnikov typically has been good enough on that line, so I think they're fine. But I don't know if I'd be so much in on Winnipeg 1. It'd be more about a power play stacking type thing, I think, in this game, especially where the Edmonton penalty kill, it's fine. It's not great. And they do take a fair share of penalties. So some sort of Winnipeg power play stack is fine, or just Winnipeg 2 just to get that additional power play exposure. On the Edmonton side, it's just the big boys here. I'm not dealing with that third line depth. Draisaitl and Kane have played to a pretty high pace in their minutes together so far this year. And if they somehow ever find themselves against Winnipeg 1 or Winnipeg 2, they could really push the pace against that line. So I don't mind Edmonton 2, add in McDavid for some additional power play exposure. But that Winnipeg Jets penalty kill has been very good of late. So I think I'm more inclined to stack even strength lines on the Edmonton side, just given how good Winnipeg's penalty kill has been of late. All right, we got to get moving. We have an entire 5-game slate to talk about here tonight. Before we get too much further, Daytona coming up tomorrow. We are offering Awesemo Plus NASCAR package for less than $2 per cup race this season. That's $70 for a full year of Awesemo Plus NASCAR. This gives you access to our driver projections, our ownership projections, our top drivers tool, and it will give you the edge you need in NASCAR DFS. Use the promo code GREENFLAG at checkout, or simply click the link in the description of this video to activate. This offer is valid until tomorrow. That's green flag, all capital letters, all one word. It'll get you Awesemo Plus NASCAR for less than $2 per cup race this season. All right, Josh, let's move this along. We have a 5-game evening slate we have to talk about here tonight. Let's get to this first game. Boston, 3.2 implied goal total. Going into Ottawa, the Senators have a 2.4 implied goal total. A couple lineup notes here. Brad Marchand did not get his suspension reduced, so he's not playing today. They're leaving Taylor Hall in the top line with Patrice Bergeron and David Pastrnak. On the Ottawa side, Thomas Chabot still not back yet. He might be back sometime next week, but definitely not back tonight. So that'll leave Eric Brandstrom on the top power play unit. Does make a little bit of a mess of their defensemen. We see a 3.2 total for Boston on the road. Ottawa hasn't been awful, though. Goaltending's been fine. I think there's some questions as to how much we want to play either side here. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, and we just got a new ownership run like a minute ago, and Boston 1 ownership came down, and some other lower owned spots came up, which we'll talk about later. But, still, Boston 1's projecting around 20%, 22%, which seems pretty high. It is the Ottawa Senators. Let's call a spade. They're not a very good team. But these 5-on-5 lines, the matchup they're going to get, Nick Paul, Connor Brown, Brady Tkachuk, they've been very good defensively recently. Is that enough to not play Boston 1 without, Chabot and, a third string goal? I don't know. Matt Murray's not going to start, but how much of a drop-off is Anton Forsberg to Matt Murray at this stage of his career? We don't know. But, Chabot being out's the big one for me. If Chabot was in and they're, you could tell me Nick Paul is that line's going to, shadow Bergeron. Maybe 22% Boston one. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I don't think I'd get there in 1-3, but Shabbat being out, that really, really hurts the blue line, because when everyone's healthy, he's still playing close to 30 minutes a night. So now you have like all these guys eating these minutes, like top pair Nick Holden. Like, I like Nick Holden, like Rangers legend Nick Holden, but he should not be on the top pair anywhere in the NHL. So yeah, despite Paul's numbers being very good, I think there's a lot of merit going to Boston one here, fully correlated. The ownership's a bit of a concern, but like 5-game slate, there's ways to get different if you want to go Boston one. So I don't think I would go to anything in the Boston depth. Like, I just don't like their lines when they're not fully healthy. It's just a big mess. If you want to add in Charlie Coyle for some power play, I think that's the only thing I'd do outside of Boston one. On the Ottawa side, I think it would be the second line for me, assuming they avoid Bergeron, Stützle, Gaudette, Formenton. Like, Formenton, Gaudette have a pretty good sample together, and they're very cheap. 5,700 for the two of them. You want to include Stützle, that's fine. So I don't mind Ottawa too, but Boston one's the play for me in this game.
So here's my issue with Boston one. And Jake, our boss, Jake, if you're watching, please cover your ears. You're not going to appreciate this next minute or so. Taylor Hall is just flat out one of the worst finishers in hockey. Like, there's just no way around it. The last 7 seasons, this guy has shot under 10% in 6 of them. By HockeyViz, which is one of the stats websites I subscribe to, very, very good if you want to get more in-depth into hockey. His finishing impact on goals is -6%, which puts him quite literally at the bottom of the league on finishing impact. Like, he has the finishing impact of a fourth liner. It's just awful. Like, he's a wonderful playmaker. He's tremendous in transition. When it comes to shooting the puck, he sucks. That worries me when I'm playing a line that's like 25% owned. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm coming from with Boston, is like Taylor Hall, playmaking wise, I think is very comparable to Brad Marchand. Taylor Hall, goal scoring wise, is honestly one of the biggest drop-offs you can find in hockey. And I don't mean that, flippantly. I'm looking at his stats, his finishing impacts. They're awful. That's what makes me nervous about playing so much Boston one, is that Bergeron can finish and Pasternak can finish. But what made that entire line so great was that Marchand could finish too. And Taylor Hall can't do that. Now, like you said, they're going into Ottawa. Ottawa doesn't have a very good penalty kill, bottom 10 in the league. Ottawa's missing their best defenseman in Thomas Chabot, and they're not a super strong defense. They're still missing Josh Norris and Drake Batherson up front. Like, let's not forget that. They're missing 2/3 of their top line. Like, there are a lot of guys missing. So I'm finding it hard to fade Boston, even though I know, like, I don't know if the goals will be there, but their offensive numbers, like 44 scoring chances per 60 minutes generated, is just absolutely obscene. Like, you got to think Taylor Hall is going to run into one at some point. I'm probably going to end up playing Boston here tonight. I'm going to do something that I don't often do, and it's probably come in less than 2x on the field. Like, usually I like to, with a highly owned line, I like to come in way over or way under. 2x is way over, but it's, not typically what I do. But I think that's where I might end up on Boston tonight. But honestly, if somebody in a single entry or 3 max said, I'm fading Boston tonight, I'd say go right ahead. I don't see a problem with that. The Ottawa second line, not a bad line, I don't think. Stützle and Gaudette don't have great numbers. Like, their numbers together are fine. I think Alex Formenton can really help solidify that. Like, Gaudette and Stützle have 53% of the scoring chances when they're on the ice together. That's good for this team. I think Alex Formenton can help in that regard, and I'm not worried about that Boston 2 matchup at all. So I don't know if I'm super excited about Ottawa 1 going into the Bergeron matchup, but I think Ottawa 2, fine as a filler. Just, if you want to use 2 out of the 3 or something like that. Stützle and Gaudette are on the top power play unit. I think that's just fine as well. So I do like Ottawa 2 in this game. I do like Boston 1 a lot, but again, it's Taylor Hall is not Brad Marchand, and I just want to make that very abundantly clear. On the blue line, lots of cheap guys for the Senators. Like, there's got to be somebody here that just runs into 3 blocks for the block bonus over on DraftKings, right? So, Nikita Zaitsev, I think, is just fine at 2,800. Brandstrom, if you want that power play correlation. I don't know if there's anybody on Boston that I'm super excited to play. What do you think?
Brandon Carlo left morning skate because he's got a cut on his wrist. I don't know if it's bad or not, but he probably has to get some stitches, it sounds like. So we'll wait and see there. If Derek Forbort moves up, if Carlo's out, then maybe at min price him, but that's really about it. I think, grasping at straws there.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's get to this next game then. St. Louis 2.8 going into Toronto. The Leafs have a 3.6 total. Big lineup news here. Vladimir Tarasenko was not at morning skate for St. Louis, and they moved Jordan Kyrou up into a spot for morning skate. That would seem to indicate that Tarasenko isn't going to play tonight. Like, if he was just taking like a morning off, like to rest or whatever, they would throw just one of their spares or a defenseman or something like that up there. They wouldn't move Kyrou. So I got to think Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich, Robert Thomas is the new St. Louis second line. They said Austin Matthews no worse for the wear between his broken tooth, and then also I think there's some mishap in practice or something like that. They're saying he's just fine, good to go. Brandon Saad, David Perron on the top line with Brian O'Reilly, and they are not very expensive. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the sample for Saad, O'Reilly, Perron, it might be the lowest event line I've ever seen in my life. It's like they're not allowed in either of the offensive defensive zones. They just play in the neutral zone. It's like knock hockey when they're on the ice. So, I don't know. I think, Toronto 1 is fine. Don't get me wrong here. They're bunting Matthews Marner. Their sample is ridiculous. Like, they are one of the best lines in hockey. But with Tarasenko out, that changes that second line a lot. Kyrou's not the player Tarasenko is. He's a nice player, but he's not Vladimir Tarasenko. I really like Toronto 2 here, especially Tavares Nylander. Getting that matchup there. If you want to go to Toronto 1, I think that's fine, but if I'm going to play something on the Leafs tonight, it's probably going to be Tavares Nylander. You want to add in somebody, outside of Kerfoot. I think leaving on Kerfoot is fine. Depends what you're doing with your lineup. Depends what you're building around. I think you can leave them on, you can leave them off, depending on what you're doing. But Toronto 2 for me. You want to go to Toronto 1, I think that's perfectly fine. On the blue side, I don't know. With Tarasenko not there, like, if Tarasenko was there, I would have been interested in that second line. But with Kyrou there, it's a little bit different. Maybe in MME, you still get there a little bit, but I don't know. I have to see. This is a 7 p.m. Eastern lock, so we'll get clarity on Tarasenko. But I agree with you. It sounds like he's going to be out. But as it stands now, I'm probably not going to have much, if any, Blues tonight.
So, I find myself in a very tough position here. I want to talk about that St. Louis second line. I think it's pretty important. I'm a very big fan of Jordan Kyrou. I'm just going to come out and write out and say that, like, the way Jake is with Taylor Hall, that's me with Jordan Kyrou. I think he's also very much underrated. His transitional play, like getting through the neutral zone entries with control and stuff like that, things that lead to high quality scoring chances, is very good. His offensive impact by expected goal share so far this year, nearly 1 standard deviation above average. Yeah, I agree with you. He's not Vladimir Tarasenko. I think the big difference, the two differences are this. One, Tarasenko is the better shooter. He's the better finisher than Kyrou. I think Kyrou is the better playmaker. But yeah, obviously Tarasenko is the better guy to finish the play. I think Jordan Kyrou is also worse defensively. And that's what changes the mix of this line for me, is that I think they can be really good offensively, but I think that they're going to give it up quite a bit defensively as well. Like, Thomas and Kyrou have actually played a fair bit together so far this year, about 200 minutes, 3 expected goals against per 60 minutes, but also 3 expected goals for per 60 minutes. Like, these guys love trading quality chances. So I think St. Louis 2 is certainly in play here against, like, Toronto 2's line is good, but it's not anywhere near as tough a matchup as the Toronto top line. And I wonder if we don't get St. Louis 2 coming in at lower ownership because people don't want to play Kyrou. So I'm going to wait for some more ownership runs a little bit later before I finish my lineups, but I am interested in that St. Louis second line. I have no interest in that Blues top line. I guess they're cheap enough that they're basically a filler stack that could play 18 or 19 minutes here tonight. But I was dropping some stats in our Discord. The offensive impact for Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron this year have just fallen off a cliff. Like, they're just non-existent. And, you know, there probably are reasons for that. We're not going to get into it right now. But they're not the same players that they were over the last few years. Maybe that changes over the final 30 games. It hasn't been the case for the first 50 or whatever. So I'm out on St. Louis 1, in on St. Louis 2, out on St. Louis 3. On the Toronto side, obviously Toronto 1 is just fine. The thing about O'Reilly and Perron is that their defensive impacts have still stayed very, very strong. So, Toronto 1's definitely in play. They're going to be one of the priorities for me tonight. Going to have to think about how much I wanted them. But it's Toronto 2 that I actually have a lot more interest now. And it's because of that Tarasenko Kyrou reason. I think Kyrou is a much worse defensive winger. And Nylander, Tavares, Kerfoot, like, not super elite, but 3 expected goals per 60 minutes is more than good enough. And you get 2 of those 3 guys on the top power play unit as well, even though St. Louis has a pretty good PK. I should also mention that St. Louis 2 combination, elite on the power play, like 9.7 goals for, 9.7 expected goals for per 60 minutes. So that's another thing in favor of St. Louis 2, even though the Leafs do have a very good penalty kill, but I just wanted to mention that. On the blue line, our Discord really loves Nico Mikkola here today. If you're playing on DraftKings, it seems like he's a pretty decent bet for the block bonus here. Not sure if there's a whole lot else I want to play in this game. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Mikkola, if you want to punt. I also think on the other side, if Rasmus Sandin is still with Jake Muzzin at min price for those minutes, I think you can take some stabs. Like, I think, listen, I'm not the Leafs coach, but I think they're trying to give Sandin an opportunity to take a spot there, and hopefully he takes it.
Yeah, that's exactly, like, the Leafs need another top 4 defenseman, and they're hoping that it's going to be Rasmus Sandin rather than going out and trading for one. That's what I kind of get from this. I do like Sandin. I agree with you. I don't mind Sandin here as a one-off. Just looking in chat, CT Bird 3716 giving you a shout out for your amazing call on Florida 3 last night. Says with a good call, I think it was Josh with Florida 3 almost won me the $15. Mason Marchment almost got us there.
I mean, listen, we talk about every game. You're the guys building the lineup, so you made the right.
I think
you made the right decision putting them in. But listen, we talk about every game. A lot of the lines, we don't build your lineup, so that's on you, my man. Good job.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I agree. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below. That can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's $2,000 NHL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. Oh, all right. We're getting to the late games. We're getting to the festival part of our NHL slate. Our first fiesta, Los Angeles 3.3 implied goal total going into Arizona. Arizona has a 2.4 implied goal total. All right, here we go. Los Angeles played last night, so they're on a road back-to-back. Typically speaking, teams do much, much worse on road back-to-backs than they do in basically any other state. Even a home back-to-back shows better numbers historically than road back-to-backs. It's tough for any team. but you're going into Arizona. Arizona's a bottom 5, generously a bottom 10 team in the league, and they haven't played in 8 days. And we've talked about when the teams were returning from the All-Star break earlier this week, maybe some of the NBA people might have missed it. We talk about how when teams have more than 5 days of rest, it just turns into rust. 2 or 3 or 4 days off is good. 6, 7, 8 days off just tends to lead to rust and underperformance. Tends to, not always. So you have a team on the road with a back-to-back, but then you have it that is a good, I think, a good playoff team. And then you have a bad team at home that should be rested, but are they rusted? I think it's a very interesting matchup. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, and LA was in Vegas last night. Like the flight from Vegas to Phoenix is 45 minutes. It's not like they're going cross country to play a game tonight. So it's just like a pretty short flight. They're not switching time zones. So, if anything is going to succeed on a road back to back, it's, Coyotes are your medicine tonight. So I think we were pretty heavy on LAT last night. And I think that's fine tonight again. But Arizona Coyotes might have the worst penalty kill in the NHL. So I think you got to at least strongly consider the top line here. You want to add in Victor Arvidsson. I think power play stacking the Kings tonight is going to be quite an interesting way to get different tonight. They have a 3.3 total on the road. They're expecting them to score. It's not like it's a 2.4, you know what I mean? Like 3.3 total on the road for the Kings might be their highest road total of the season. So I think power play stacking is fine. You want to use that top line, is fine. If you want to go, denial Arvidsson, I still think that's fine. Like LA2 still has ridiculous numbers. It's not like they changed overnight. They scored yesterday. So for me, I think I'm going to power play stack the Kings if I get there, or just, have a one-off Arvidsson or a two-man Danault Arvidsson, or just go LA1. Like, I really like the Kings tonight. The Coyotes are a bad team. They've been off forever. They get Barrett Hayton back, which, didn't realize that. No more Kings in my line. You know what I mean? Like, Barrett Hayton, who, defensively, fine, whatever. Just has no impact for me what I'm going to do with the Kings. So I really do like the Kings tonight. On the Coyotes side, I guess, I don't know. In MME, if you need a filler like Keller, Hayton, Schmaltz, they're so cheap. Like Hayton, Schmaltz, power play 1, 5,200 for the two of them. You know what I mean? So, Kings are back-to-back on the road. It is Calvin Peterson on net. And listen, he's not had a very good season. He was the DFS darling last season, but this season he has not been great. So, maybe an MME getting to some power play Coyotes here could be all right. It's not something I'm going to do in 1 to 3, but the deeper you get, with lineups made 20 to 150, I think you can get to a little bit of Arizona 1.
I was looking at some Arizona stats earlier. Phil Kessel, for his career, has been slagged as an awful defensive player. And honestly, for a lot of it, he was. His defensive impacts this year are pretty close to league average, which is shocking. I can't express how shocking it is. Like a 34-year-old Phil Kessel or whatever he is now suddenly putting up decent defensive impacts. I mentioned that because Lawson Crouse and Travis Boyd haven't been awful together this year. Those are the players that Kessel is going to be playing with. 48% of the expected goal share. Obviously, that's not great. It's not awful for the Arizona Coyotes, and I think Phil can help there and kind of make them a little bit of a legit line. The problem is that they're, like you mentioned, Hayton and Schmaltz 5,200 combined. That's it's a big discount. Crouse and Boyd at 6,700. It's a $1,500 difference. It's 22% cheaper or whatever. That's not nothing. But here they are projecting more points than the top line. So I think Crouse, Boyd, and Kessel, if you're going to go to Arizona, that's where I would go. The Kings top line, 45% expected goal share over their last 100 minutes. Their play is starting to slip a little bit. I think they can they're not bad by any stretch. I think they're not playing as well as they were, and that's where Arizona 2 can definitely come in and do some damage. You know, 2 of the 3 guys play the second power play unit, so if you want to stack them with Jacob Chikrin, we'll talk about him in a bit. That's just fine. You can leave Krause off. I do think that Arizona's second line is where I would look on that side. On the Kings side, it's Kings 2. I'm going right back to Kings 2. You know, I don't know if it feels like a fish move or not, but as you mentioned, the Arizona penalty kill, one of the worst in hockey, has been the entire season. And, you know, Victor Arvidsson is now getting those top power play minutes. The trio is projecting very, very well on our lineup builder. If you look at our lineup builder, they're coming in for 27.7 points. If you want to look around some other second lines, it's more than St. Louis 2. You know, it's way more than Ottawa 2. It's more than Vancouver 2. It's more than Anaheim 2. Like, these guys are projecting very, very well, and they're going in. Like, I think they're going to see the Keller, Hayton, Schmaltz line a fair bit. Hayton's just a bad player for the NHL, and he's coming back first game in 6 weeks. I think he's going to go into that Kings 2 matchup. Remember, Kings 2, we talked about him yesterday. 3.9 expected goals for per 60 minutes over their last 100 minutes. They are just dynamite offensively. I know it's a road back-to-back, but you know, they're going to probably come in single-digit ownership. So if you're playing 20 max or whatever, you get 15%, 20%, and you move along. You don't need to go super heavy. So Kings 2 for me in this. I agree with you on the power play stacking. I think the power play stacking is the way I would go if I wasn't playing Kings 2 out of this game. Like, I wouldn't even strength stack the top line. I don't think I would try to find a way to get Doughty in or find a way to get Arvidsson in or something like that. On the Arizona side, it's Krause, Boyd, and Kessel. They're not a priority for me, but they will be in consideration as a filler. On the blue line, Jacob Chikrin is finally starting to play more minutes. Remember, when he first came back from injury, he was playing like 18, 19 minutes. Lately, it's been a lot more, up to 23 a game, leading the team. Peripherals are really starting to look strong as well. It's the ownership that's killing me. This is a 2.4 total, and he's coming in at 21% owned. I guess maybe, I mean, we saw Roman Josi do it last night, so maybe he can pull a Roman Josi. What do you think about defensemen here?
I'm not super concerned about ownership with Chikrin, just because, like, at 5,800, if he gets you a combo meal without hitting the score sheet, that's 17 DK points, 3x is his value. So I'm fine with Chikrin. I'm good with Doughty. It's maybe about it. Like, Roy over 4K is a little too expensive for me.
Yeah, that's a hard pass for me, because he's a block bot, right? And you can just go to Ottawa to find a block bot instead. Yeah. All right. Next game, Anaheim, 2.5 implied goal total going into Vancouver. The Canucks, they have a 3.0 implied goal total. Ryan Getzlaf, I'm still out for this game. We're showing a top line. Adam Henrique, Sam Steele, Troy Terry. That's what they went with in their last game. Vancouver has changed things up a little bit. Tanner Pearson, Elias Pettersson, Connor Garland is now the second line. The top line is the same as the last game. I suspect it'll be John Gibson versus Thatcher Demko in net. We don't have confirmation on the goalies just yet. You and I were talking about one of the lines in this game that might tickle some fancy here, and it's coming in with low ownership. So why don't you start with the Ducks here? Tell us what you like about Anaheim, then move on over to Vancouver.
Yeah, there's not really a matchup on the Canucks side. They're going to take me off a line. And, like, yeah, with Getzlaf out, like, whoever they send out again, like whoever the Canucks send out against top comp, probably going to go out against Zegras, Swan, or Raquel. But, like, right now they're coming in at 1.5%. Fully correlated on the power play. And they just have really good numbers together. And it's the Canucks. Like, you look at this Canucks ownership, it's just crazy. Top line coming in 15%, second line coming in 15%. Like, it's just, I'd much rather play Zegras, Raquel, Milano 1.5% than anything on the Canucks side. So Anaheim 2 for me. On the Canucks side, any line Tanner Pearson's on, I'm kind of interested on, just because, like, he just stabilizes them and they have good numbers. So like, yeah, the sexy pick on the Canucks might be Miller, Horvat, Besser, but like I might be looking at Pettersson, Garland here. They're cheaper. They have Pearson, who's like I don't know how to describe him. He just kind of like he's good everywhere, not great anywhere.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to describe.
Yeah, that's a good description. I agree with that.
So Pettersson, Garland, little boy shot bot. Connor Garland at 3,700 interests me. The thing that doesn't interest me is the ownership here. It's just, crazy high ownership on the Canucks right now. So if the ownership sticks throughout the day, I'm probably just going to fade the Canucks, but I would not fault you for going to either of these Canucks top two lines. Like it is the Ducks, like they're missing Getzlaf, and when there are players out of place on the Ducks, it is a problem, and their penalty kill is not great. So I won't follow you for going to Canucks here, but at this ownership, for what I want to do tonight, I'm probably going to fade them in 1-3.
Yeah. Okay. I got you to talk about Anaheim first because it was that second line. I'm going to touch on that in a second, but I want to talk about Vancouver because of that ownership. 16% on the second line. We're looking at, like you said, about 15% on the top line. So nearly 1 in 3 lineups are going to have Vancouver 1 or Vancouver 2. I mean, we'll see when ownership runs come out. It does make sense when you look at their prices. Vancouver 2's under 11K as a full line stack, like in a 3 total at home against Anaheim. Like, I get it. Here's what I'm going to say about Vancouver is that a lot of their production over the last 2 years has come on the power play. They've been very, very reliant on the power play for production, basically since the start of last season. In fact, if you just take JT Miller is getting over 40% of his points from the power play alone this season. Like, this guy, he's over a point per game pace. And if he was doing anything but being one of the most effective power play producers in the league, like he'd be down probably at like 40 points or under. This guy has just been absolutely absurd with his power play production this year. And that's the point I want to make about Vancouver is that, yes, they're coming in with extremely high ownership. Here's the thing. We talk about how bad Arizona's penalty kill is. Anaheim's right there with them. And in fact, since Christmas, I think you can make an argument that Anaheim's had the worst penalty kill in the NHL. So you have an awful penalty kill going into a team that is very reliant on the power play. That's the one thing that's giving me pause here. Like, I don't suspect, that an even strength line will be from Vancouver will be optimal here tonight. But can a Vancouver power play stack or, get the pieces that you need? Can that be optimal? Like, I think that's kind of where I'm landing with Vancouver here is I'm going to end up with some power play stacks. Quinn Hughes is back. That's the guy, obviously, that you want running the power play. The problem is, obviously, that they split them across 2 units. So you're going to have to pick one power play unit or the other to stack. I haven't picked any yet. I haven't made my lineups, but that's what I would do with Vancouver. I would find some way to power play stack them because I think that's exactly how you attack the Ducks, particularly when Vancouver's not a great 5-on-5 team. That's at least by scoring themselves. On the Anaheim side, I agree with you on Anaheim too. Milano, Zegras, and Raquel have just been, outstanding all season long. Looking at they don't have a huge sample of late because they've only played a couple of games. They played a lot earlier in the season. So there hasn't been a huge sample of late. We don't know if they're going to keep playing well, but they're perfectly correlated on the top power play unit. And, we talk about bad penalty kills. Like, it's actually kind of funny. We say Arizona is one of the worst penalty kills in the league. They're 31st by expected goals against. Anaheim's 32nd. Vancouver's 30th. The 4 worst teams by expected goals against, including the Los Angeles Kings, believe it or not. The 4 worst teams by expected goals against on the penalty kill over the last 6 weeks are all on this 5-game slate here tonight. So I think you can do the same thing kind of on the Anaheim side is that, if you want to get a little bit, I don't think you have to get different with Anaheim. Don't get me wrong here. They're coming in with low enough ownership. If you want to slide in, a Jamie Drysdale or something on the power play, I think that's fine. But I'm not super excited about playing defensemen in this game. Let's talk about those defensemen. I nearly fell out of my chair. Like, I know it can be tough to maintain pricing on a daily basis, but it has to make sense. And when I look over on DraftKings has 3 Anaheim defensemen priced over $5K here tonight. What? Kevin Shattenkirk is more expensive than any of their forwards except for Trevor Zegras. No, I don't know. No, hard pass. Any defenseman out of this game for you?
No. Just no. Like, I don't know. I don't get their pricing. It's just an easy fade. Like, Quinn Hughes in some power play stacking is fine. That's honestly it. Like, maybe Travis Hamonic at 3,300, but to the next one for me.
I mean, I will say it's a difference between DK and FanDuel. DK pricing those guys way up. If you look over on FanDuel, got to get this win. Josh Anderson mentioned it in the Discord. Hampus Lindholm's price has come down 4,200 over on FanDuel. I think is reasonable. Jamie Drysdale running the top power play unit for 4,100 on FanDuel. I think that's reasonable. Like, if Jamie Drysdale was, if Hampus Lindholm was 4,200 on DraftKings, I would say maybe over 5K. That's a hard pass. All right. The Awesemo Hall of Fame. What is the Awesemo Hall of Fame? It's someplace Josh has never been. Neither have I, though. Neither have I, though, so don't worry about that. It's one of those things. It's just NHL contests, right? Just not enough big ones. The Awesemo Hall of Fame is where we like to celebrate our subscriber success. And if you want to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame and get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, this is how you do it. You download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. You place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then you tweet those wins to the Awesemo Hoff account. That's Awesemo HOF on Twitter. You do all that, and you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. There hasn't been NBA over the last couple of days, so if you've been watching this show, these might be familiar to you, but for people that are new, Timothy Beachler absolutely wrecked NBA a few nights ago, taking down the micro winner take all, taking down the micro mini max as well. Just a very, very good night from him. Shaky 1, 2, 3, 8, 1 finished behind Beachler in that mini max for $2,500. A good night from him. And DFS Noob under $2.50 in entries, $3,000 in winnings over on NBA. Nobody pivoted to Schroeder and Sengun, only 10% owned. That's where those late swaps can definitely come in handy, and that's where the Discord can really help. Smoking Cutler taking down 20K says, thanks to Ship My Money for providing great YouTube content. It is a really good name. I'll miss that meme. I miss seeing that guy on my Twitter timeline. That's about it. M Champa 98 took down the micro $3 Tuesday over an NBA. And then, of course, EMAC 2024 way back taking 5th in the Super Bowl, also split first in the Super Bowl baller. So if you want to get in the Awesemo Hall of Fame, just download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar, place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then tweet the wins to the Awesemo Hoff account. All right. I was just looking through some of the lineup news for the early slates. Looks like some new lines, third and fourth lines for Colorado. If anybody was playing the Colorado third line, looks like Nicholas Aube-Kubel with JT Compher and Tyson Jost on the third line, moving Alex Newhook and Logan O'Connor to the fourth line. I don't know if I would necessarily want to play that Colorado third line here. Does make me kind of not like that Buffalo third line. It looks like a better defensive line now than it was before. That kind of worries me for anybody that was had intentions of playing a little bit of Buffalo 3. Looking at the Buffalo lineup, nothing out of order, it seems. Casey Middlestat between Asplund and Okposo, as expected. Dustin Tokarski in goal. All right, Josh, we do have one more game to get through on this late slate here tonight. Just want to remind everybody we have the MMA Live Before Lock coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern with Floyd and Rogers, and then your NASCAR Strategy Show. Can't wait to tune in for that one. I got my NASCAR tickets getting all set. Even Xander behind the screen getting really stoked about Daytona tomorrow. The NASCAR Strategy Show at 4:05 Eastern, right after MMA. All right, let's get to this last game. Seattle, 2.2 implied goal total. They're going into Calgary. The Flames are sitting with a 3.8 implied goal total. All right. Calgary is coming in with the best leverage on the slate. We have them at 25% top two stack, coming in with 11% ownership. You and I were talking before the show. Now, they're expensive. They're the most expensive line on the entire slate. They're coming in over 22K over on DraftKings, coming in over 25K over on FanDuel. Yes, they're the most expensive line on the slate. I would argue they're also in the best spot on the slate, and they're getting tremendous leverage. You and I were thinking this ownership might come up a little bit, though. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, right now they're coming in at like 11%. I have a hard time seeing the top line come in under 15%, unless like they're just priced out. And, people just go to that Calgary second line, which is certainly possible because the Calgary second line is insane. Like, they're just unbelievable. They're currently projected for more ownership than the top line. So maybe that line of thinking, people just don't want to spend the 22K on DraftKings and, we'll just go to that Calgary second line because there isn't a line on Seattle that, really worries me defensively. Like these line combinations for Seattle are just trash. So I don't know. They're searching. Seattle's still searching. It's like that. What is it when your computer's like looking to get like they've been looking all season?
Yeah, buffering.
They've been buffering since the expansion draft. So I don't know. I'm fine with Calgary 1, fine with Calgary 2, even Calgary 3 here. Toffoli 3,900. I'm fine with them like for a filler. So there's honestly nothing on Seattle that I want to play. I think, depending on how you want to build, I think Calgary 1 is the best spot of the night if you don't want to spend the 22K or whatever. Calgary 2 is an excellent option. Like, they've actually started to come up in price a little bit, which is nice to see, but like they're still under 13K to full stack, and they're just going to run over whoever they're playing against. So I'm perfectly fine in Calgary 2. You want to get a little bit lower ownership in a massive total, go Dubé, Monahan, Toffoli. You don't have to full stack. You can get Monahan for that power play 1, put him with Toffoli, put him with Dubé, and go about your day. Really like Calgary. Don't really like Seattle. There's not really a very good matchup. Like if you want to go to, Hansen, Wenberg, Eberle in MME, I guess, like because they're under 1%, they're fully correlated, but like Calgary's just been, running over teams. So like in MME, yeah, maybe I'll get to a tiny bit of Seattle 1 just because they're fully correlated and cheap, but like I just do not like this matchup.
Okay. It is a bad matchup. Seattle 1 is their best line, and they're a 51% shot share line. Like everything else is just bad. Seattle 3, here's an example. Seattle 3 of Appleton, Gord, and Yarncroc, they're up to like 80 minutes together in their sample. 31% scoring chance share. They're controlling fewer than 1 in 3 scoring chances when they're on the ice. They're getting absolutely Vader choked whenever they step on the ice. Like, I don't know. Like, and the thing is, like, Calgary does mix up their matching a little bit, but the Calgary top line plays the middle 6 of the opposition, which means they're going to get a fair bit of that Appleton Court Yarncroc line. Like, holy God, that's going to look awful. I mean, it's hockey. Like, random things really do happen in hockey. I think Columbus went into Carolina one night and pounded them 7-1 or something like that. Like, those things do happen. Don't think that they can't. This isn't an automatic win for Calgary or anything like that. But Seattle's just, they're a bad team with at least 3 very bad lines in their second, third, and fourth lines. So where Calgary's going to be coming in against that middle 6, Calgary 1 is my favorite stack on the entire slate. I don't have a problem saying that. Calgary 1, they're going to be one of the pillars of my lineups here tonight. Calgary 2, I like them a lot. They've been absolutely decimating the opposition. I worry about ownership. They're coming in very heavily owned, 12 to 13%. It's not huge. It is significant for a 5-game slate where there are a bunch of options. Let's be clear here. The Calgary second line is super elite. 3.6 expected goals for per 60 minutes over their last 100 minutes. 80 shot attempts per 60 minutes over their last 100 minutes played, controlling 67% of the shot attempts. They're just torching the opposition. The only argument to not use them here tonight is ownership. That's why, well, it's that for me, it's ownership in the fact that I'm probably going to be using a lot more Calgary 1. Like I'm not going to put like Calgary 1 in, 40% of my lineups or whatever it is, and then put Calgary 2 in 40% of my lineups. I don't think that's what I'm going to do here tonight. Both lines, obviously perfectly fine. The way I'm building tonight, Calgary 1 is my favorite line. Calgary 2 is fine. Calgary 3, I don't know if I would get that far down, but I would certainly be fine taking like a one-off Toffoli or one-off Monahan or something like that. On the Seattle side, if I were to go anywhere, it'd be the McCann, Donato, Donskoy line, I think. The reason being McCann and Donato are the only two that have been shooting over their last 6 or 7 games. Like they're at like 15, 16 shot attempts per 60 minutes each. I don't think any other forward is above 12. So like they're literally shooting 25% more than any other forward on the team over their last, couple weeks or whatever. So I think that's where I would go is Donato, McCann, Donskoy. But again, I wouldn't play them in single entry. I wouldn't play them in 3 max. I don't even think I'm going to get to them in 20 max. They're going to be in consideration, but I'm not like running out to play them. I think it's only once you get to 150s that you really have to look at them. On the blue line, there's nobody really sticking out for me, like on either side. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to play Rasmus Anderson at 5,600, and the Calgary D are starting to get pretty expensive. They're both in the 4Ks, Shillington and Hanifin, I mean. I don't think I'm playing anybody from Seattle. What sticks out to you here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Hanifin or Shillington. Rasmus at 5,600, if you want to correlate, I guess is fine. Tanev at 3K, or even like Eric Goodbranson has been on a tear too. Like, just crazy to say, but I'd much rather play Chris Tanev at 3K.
And I'll say this about Philip Grubauer. We were talking about how he's been playing better of late, and that's actually true. His first 27 games of the season, 880 save percentage. Last 10, 896, baby. He's not quite getting there, but I guess 896 is better. All right, Josh, we got to get out of here. I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. I'm going to Old Faithful here tonight. My hat trick pick is Victor Arvidsson, and my goalies are Ville Husso, Thatcher Demko, Carl Vejmelka are the ones that I like. Who you got?
Yeah, I like those guys as well. I'll throw in Gibson into the mix just because cheap Gibson's always interesting to me. Also, don't mind Anton Forsberg. Whoever really starts for the Sens could be an interesting play if it's Forsberg or whoever it is. And my hat trick pick is going to be the best Leaf, William Nylander.
Ooh, Billy Knees. I like it. Right before we get out of here, missed a super chat from Matt Niehaus. $5 super chat said, thank you very much. He says, do you recommend any racks of the Richard Persuasion tonight? I might be playing some Anaheim too in my 20 maxes. What do you think about single entry, Josh?
Yeah, they'll be in my mix. I haven't decided what I'm doing tonight, but they're definitely going to be in the mix for me for 1 to 3.
Yep. All right. We got to get out of here. Don't forget MMA Live Before Lock coming up in a couple hours at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then the NASCAR Strategy Show right after. We are out of here. We're going to be back Monday afternoon for a President's Day show, I believe. For producer Tyler, for our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris, I'm Michael Clifford saying good luck tonight, everybody.